Non-debt recurrent spending is pegged at 15.25 trillion naira, while capital expenditure rises to 26.08 trillion naira, reflecting a shift towards infrastructure and sustainable development. The budget assumes an oil price of $64.85 per barrel and daily production of 1.84 million barrels. Lawmakers also highlighted international efforts to attract foreign investment, including recent missions to countries like Turkey. After contributions from members, Speaker Tajuddin Abbas put a question to voice vote, and the bill was overwhelmingly approved. Plenary was then adjourned for 2 weeks to allow committees to begin detailed budget defense sessions with ministries and agencies.
And away from the Green Chamber, the Senate has set up an ad hoc committee to gather and consolidate senators' views on the Electoral Act 2022 repeal and enactment bill. Senate President Godswill Akpabio announced the decision after a closed session where lawmakers began reviewing the report of the Senate Committee on Electoral Matters, chaired by Senator Simon Lalong. The closed session allowed senators to examine proposed amendments and supporting documents ahead of further debate on the bill.
Still in the red chamber, the Senate has launched an investigation into inefficiencies and insecurity in Nigeria's railway system. The move follows concerns over declining service, particularly the Abuja-Kaduna-Kano rail line raised by Senator Abdul Ningi, who said the project was poorly executed despite generating over 1.8 billion naira in revenue. Senate President Godswill Akpabio inaugurated an ad hoc committee chaired by Senator Adams Oshomole to examine project execution, funding, and service delivery. The panel is expected to submit its report within 6 weeks.
Away from the National Assembly, Nigeria's Vice President Shetima says President Bola Tinubu's reforms are boosting global confidence in the country's economy. He spoke at the inaugural convocation of the Professional Certification Program for Public Procurement Graduates in Abuja. Vice President Shetima highlighted the certification of 2,100 procurement professionals from Nigeria and abroad as a key milestone, signaling growing faith in Nigeria's reforms. International observers, including the World Bank and IMF, have also revised Nigeria's economic growth forecast upward, citing the Tinubu administration's policy-driven framework.
We now move on to Borno State, where Governor Babangana Zulum has approved the immediate direct payment of monthly allocations to the state's 27 local government councils. Acting Governor Umar Kadafu announced the move in Maiduguri after swearing in the newly elected council chairpersons. He said the directive follows the Supreme Court ruling on local government autonomy and President Tinubu's call for financial independence for councils. Kadafu added the measure empowers chairpersons with direct access to funds, ends bureaucratic delays, and strengthens grassroots democracy. He also urged them to prioritize staff welfare and ensure timely payment of salaries and entitlements.
And now to legal matters. A Yaba Chief Magistrates Court has granted bail to activists Hassan Taiwo, also known as Soweto, and Dele Frank, who were arraigned over a week because of a protest against illegal demolitions and evictions in Lagos. The duo, arrested following a demonstration at the Lagos State House of Assembly, faced 5 charges, including unlawful assembly, obstruction of traffic, and conduct likely to cause a breach of peace. Human rights lawyer Femi Falano appeared for the defendants, despite objections from the prosecution, which were overruled by Magistrate I.O. Alaka. The court granted bail of 200,000 naira each, with 2 responsible sureties, and adjourned the case to the 11th of March. The defendants were released to Falano, who will ensure their court appearance.
Still on a legal note, a federal high court in Abuja has granted former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello permission to travel to Saudi Arabia for the 2026 Lesser Hajj. Justice Emeka Wike ordered the temporary release of Bello's international passport to enable the religious trip. Bello is currently facing trial for alleged misappropriation of 80.2 billion naira charges he has denied, brought by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission.
While turning to other stories, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission has arraigned Yusuf Mustafa, a deputy director at the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, before a Federal Capital Territory High Court in Abuja. Mustafa faces 3 charges, including forgery, fraudulent presentation of forged documents, and making false statements to ICPC investigators. The allegations stem from discrepancies in his academic certificate, specifically a claimed 1997 Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration from Ahmadu Bello University.
And now to Anambra State, where the state government has ordered all schools to fully resume academic activities on Mondays, warning that non-compliant institutions will be shut down. Commissioner for Education Ngozi Chuma Ude said a directive issued by Governor Charles Soludo applies to all public, private, mission and return schools across the states. Joining us virtually to analyze the news hour is Professor Emmanuel Usue. Professor Usue is an academician. You're welcome, Professor.
Thank you very, very much.
Glad to have you join us.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's start with this. The House of Representatives has approved the President Bola Tinubu's 58.18 trillion naira 2026 appropriation bill. And of course, it's also backing the administration's economic reform agenda. Would you say that that is what you expect of the House of Representatives, as in like backing this administration's economic reform agenda and approving the 2026 bill?
Yeah, there is a constitution, National Assembly, both the House of Representatives and the Senate, to go through the budget presented by the president and ensure that it is reasonable, is going to alleviate the pain of the masses, and also key projects are going to be taken care of. And so, to my mind, for the House of Reps to approve it, it's their duty to do it if they are satisfied with some explanations attached to the budget. So for now, let me agree that they are doing their duty.
All right, Professor Oswe, good to see you again. So you agree, yes, you agree that the House of Representatives is doing its duty, right? Let's take a look at this. Yes, let's take a look at this case closely. So the budget is titled the Budget of Consolidation, Renewed Resilience, and Shared Prosperity. Now, I'm asking you, do you think really these things are going to really trickle down to the masses? Also, other budget performances, how would you rate it compared to what we've seen so far?
I really wish to have had a copy of this budget. Unfortunately, it is not available with me, but as a Nigerian, based on antecedents, we are very good at using grammar, particularly the English grammar, to appeal to the conscience of the electorate that the government is really in their interest. So the way the budget has been titled is suggestive of a plan to alleviate our pain. But then it is left for us to see when the implementation comes if this budget is also going to achieve the stated objectives. Remember, we have spent so much money on security, and yet we are still in a mess. And yet our 170-something church members are still in the kidnappers' den, and yet several others who have been kidnapped, they are still there. And then people are living in camps and IDPs camps. So we are very good at naming what we think we can do in terms of proposals. Our major concern is to implement those brilliant proposals that are being put on the pages of papers. That's our concern. So let me appreciate the federal government for having a very brilliant budget, but it is now left for us to watch and see whether those things that are stated to be carried out will actually be done to the betterment of the nation.
Well, Professor Oswe very well said. Before my colleague Nina comes on board, you talked about security and how you really have not benefited from the monies budgeted for security. It's so important that you mentioned the IDP camps. But let's also take a look at another instance. Last year, for example, the 2025 budget, 10 billion naira was budgeted for the installation of a solar mini-grid just for the presidential villa alone. But just this year alone, we've had the national grid collapse a number of times. So would you say this budget is elitist and doesn't really cater to the masses when it comes to power supply as well? Because monies have been allocated for the, catering for solar energy when it comes to the presidential villa. What have you got to say regarding that one?
It tarries with what I've already said, that it is in the nature of our government to put down brilliant ideas on paper to convince us that the government is actually doing something. But then when we take a close look at implementation, that's where the problem comes. We are still talking about the power issue in Nigeria. And each time we are made to understand that they are going to improve the power sector, they are going to improve infrastructure, they are going to improve education, they are going to improve this and that. So those things are there on paper. Our worry is whether those things are implemented the way they are made for us to see on paper. That's the problem. So I think it is a similar narrative until the government actually does what it says it will do. Otherwise, for now, there's no cause for jubilation. We will still suspend our judgment until we see whether it is done or not. So for me, it is a normal experience in our country to see brilliant ideas on paper.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor, for your extensive explanation and, of course, analysis to that. But let's go to the Senate. The Senate has set up an ad hoc committee to gather and consolidate the senators' views on the Electoral Act 2022. I'm sure you know that many Nigerians are looking forward to these electoral reforms, and some persons have even accused the Senate or the National Assembly of trying not to actually put these reforms into place. And now we've seen them, come start the plenary or start their sessions, and now they've gone into a closed session where the lawmakers are now beginning to review the report of the Senate Committee on Electoral Reforms. But do you actually think that having a closed session actually negates transparency?
Well, I don't know what has informed the Senate to go into closed-door session with respect to what is public. The regulations and the act of these electoral acts are meant for us to know. We have made some proposals to the National Assembly. one of the proposals is the transmission of result at the polling unit electronically, not manual. Manual will be there as a backup. However, transmission of result must this time be electronic, and nobody should come and tell us of any glitch anywhere. And so this type of discussions, it should have, so that we hear each of their contributions and who is actually working against our country and working against the demands of the populace concerning these electoral reforms. So, but I don't understand why they feel that it's better they go into closed door session. What is it that they want to say that they are hiding from the public? That's my suspicion, and that's my worry.
Yeah, but to probe this further, Professor, a closed door session on its own is not criminal, is it? It's something that is attainable. It's something they do, having closed door sessions, right?
Well, in terms of security, sometimes we say that security is not discussed extensively and vividly in the public. That I understand. But this one is different. We're not talking about security. We're talking about the processes of electing credible leaders of our nation. And so when we make proposals and send to the National Assembly, we expect their discussion, and so that we will be able to follow how they have discussed it and arrive at a given point. That one, I think, to my mind, should be more reasonable than to go into closed door sessions when certain things about the same thing are discussed with what, and why would the Senate take this decision and not the other one? Those things are very important for future elections and for future, election, in the sense that if your contribution are not reasonable, then we recall you and you go back home, and then we send somebody who will properly represent us and represent our views.
Okay, let's just stay on this, Professor. You know, some of these members, some of these Senate legislators are actually election contestants. That means they will come back, or they want to come back next year, or of course during the election. Do you actually see them passing a credible electoral reforms?
I don't want to speak for their consciences, because each person has his or her conscience to let him or her know whether she is capable and she can convince us she has done a good job to be re-elected. If I am going to vote for somebody, I would vote for somebody like this lady that was harassed everywhere. And she's really doing a lot. Don't want to mention her name.
Yeah, but you should mention her name, though.
Natasha. Natasha.
Okay.
If I had the opportunity, Natasha will go there again. And if she continues this way, she can go for the third, fourth, or fifth time. And of course, she can also become the Senate president at some point, if I have my way.
If you have your way.
This is the type of representation we want. We don't want those who would come forward and deceive us and just carry the money and end up in their private pockets, leave their communities in pain, sorrow, and disaster. We want people who really represent us and care about our needs, our challenges, our pain, and our tears.
Very well said. One more bone to pick before we let this matter lie, Professor. I know you talked about electronic transmission of results at the polling booth as one of the things you would like to see as regards electoral reforms and all of that. We've heard a number of people say that also the electoral umpire should be nominated by stakeholders and not the executive. Stakeholders are like student bodies, trade unions, the judiciary, and all of that. But what other thing would you like to see when it comes to electoral reforms in Nigeria? What would you like to see?
Look, I also subscribe to that thinking that the person should be elected, not appointed, because it will now give us, the electorate, the more confidence in the electoral body. But having said so, apart from that, the security of our everybody, the voters, when they go to the polling unit to vote, are they going to be secured? How are they going to be secured? Because in the presence of this insecurity in our country, suppose on that day, you mobilize your family to the polling unit. On your way to the polling unit, you have been kidnapped and kept somewhere. Are those things, when we are making some reforms, are those things going to be seriously considered in such a way that I will be safe to be able to go and vote, and that my vote will count, and that there will be no glitch anywhere of sort, whether electronic glitches?
Okay, thank you very much, Professor. Okay, let's move on. Still on the Senate, they've launched an investigation.
Or glitch that some of us are looking for.
You can land on your thoughts. You can land on your thoughts because I don't think we heard that part of what you said.
I was saying that I would have loved to see more.
We seem to be having connection issues with Professor. We'll take a break, and when we return, we hope we'll connect with him again. Just stay with us. Glad to have you back. We've been speaking with Professor Osue. Professor, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. Can you quickly land on the thoughts you were trying to pinpoint before we had a connection issue?
Yes, I was trying to say that apart from guaranteeing electronic transmission of result, let us also be guaranteed that our lives are going to be safe when we go for election at the polling units. If I take my family to the polling units, will I be able to go there safely and come back home without being kidnapped and kept elsewhere? Will there be some glitches in terms of security? Will there be some other challenges that we did not anticipate? It is my desire to see the National Assembly look at these issues very well and incorporate them into the electoral law so that we will have a free, fair, and credible elections without any harassment. This is my desire, to see this 2027 election come and go.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor. Let's move on. Still on the Senate. The Senate has launched an investigation into inefficiencies and insecurity in Nigeria's railway system. And of course, you would agree with me that so much money has been spent on the railway system. But I want to ask you, why do you think that despite the huge amount of money that has been spent on this, why has this not translated into effective operation of our railway system?
Well, it comes down to the common denominator. Our government sometimes is not sincere in its operations and implementation of what is on paper. So much money is put into projects that if you give the same money to an individual to establish his company or business, the person will use less money to do the same thing. But when it comes to government projects, I don't know what happened with some of our top government functionaries in terms of executing projects. For instance, this Dangote refinery, the money that was spent for repairing the 4 refineries was much, much higher than the money spent for Dangote to establish his new refinery. So one wonders, the money that goes into a particular project on paper is so big. But then when it comes to that project to be fully implemented, then that is where the problem comes. And I think the simple definition is corruption. We have a corrupt system, and we are so corrupt that nobody is willing to stick his or her neck to say that, yes, I stand against corruption today. Even the institutions that are prosecuting corrupt politicians, sometimes they go behind to receive millions and millions, if not billions. And so by the time they are dealing with a case, they will show it on public domain that somebody has been arrested and so. And then within 1 to 2 years, Nigerians will forget, and then the person will be let out. How can somebody who has been accused of 80-something billion, now the person wants to go outside the country, and the court has granted the person the permission to go? Is that the way it is done if we are very serious about corruption?
This person you're talking about, who's that?
I want to be careful.
Yeah, but let me hazard a guess. Are you talking about the former governor of Kogi State?
Yeah, I think your guess may be reasonable.
Okay. All right, Professor. So you see, it was Senator Abdul Ningi who actually brought up this issue, and he was particular about the Abuja-Kaduna-Kano rail line.
Yes.
He said the project was poorly executed despite generating over 1.8 billion naira in revenue. Now, this is what happened. The Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, now said, okay, let's set up a ad hoc committee to investigate the matter and to report back in weeks. Do you see anything coming out of this investigation based on antecedents?
I want to give them the benefit of doubt if they are very serious. I know that Shomole, who is going to lead that ad hoc committee, was one time a union leader who fought against the government on so many issues. I want to believe him that he will still maintain his integrity and he will do his job in a manner that we appreciate. So let me give him the benefit of doubt on the committee. But there is 50% chance of doing the right thing, but there is also another 50% that it will still be a sham. So, but for now, we keep our fingers crossed within the. So after 6 weeks, the report comes back to the National Assembly, and then we hear what the report says and what action are carried out, because it is one thing to even bring the report and say, this is what we have seen, and then when the report, the recommendations that are there, whether they will be implemented or not, that's another issue altogether.
Okay, Professor, but with all of the issues we've had with our railway system, do you actually think that it should still be government run, or should concession be become the needful for us? And do you think that would be more beneficial to Nigeria if this sector is concessionalized?
Yes, I believe that if our government will go into partnership with private sector on these key issues like road networks and this train race and generally communication, if the government goes into partnership with the private sector, I think there will be more aggressive improvement and implementation of a quality service to our nation. You know, in advanced countries, it is the same thing. The public is also involved in the development, and they partner with the government. In fact, sometimes the percentage of government is very meager. The private sector drives the development in terms of also some of these budgets. But it's only here in Nigeria that we depend on the government on everything.
Well, Professor Emmanuel Usue, you have been fantastic as usual. Thank you so much for joining us again today.
You're welcome.
All right, we have been speaking with Professor Emmanuel Usue. He is an academician as well as a public affairs analyst. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. And now the federal government has officially taken over Tai Solarin Federal University of Education from Ogun State government. The handover was marked by a memorandum of understanding signed by Ogun Governor Dapo Abiodun and Minister of State for Education Suwaiba Ahmed during the university's 17th convocation ceremony. Ahmed described the transfer as a defining moment, highlighting the federal government's commitment to strengthening education as a foundation for national renewal and prosperity. Governor Abiodun said the takeover advances national equity, noting Ogun East now boasts a federal university, and thanked President Bola Tinubu for approving the transition. The acting vice-chancellor, Professor Adekunle Adeogun, called on stakeholders to support improvements in student accommodation to ensure safe and conducive living environments.
We now move on to Edo State, where Governor Monday Okpeolo has renovated Army Day Secondary School in Ekahon, delighting students as they returned to refurbished classrooms. The comprehensive upgrade marks a major improvement for the school. Correspondent Rhoda Journey tells us more.
Teachers and management of Amide Junior and Secondary School, Ekenwa, Benin City, commended Edo State Governor Monday Okpeolo for renovating and remodeling the school, which had suffered years of neglect. The upgraded classrooms and improved facilities have created a better learning environment, lifting staff morale and exciting students about their studies.
I assumed duty in this school October 15th, 2024. And when I came in, the state of this school was in a mess. I cried in my heart. I saw students sitting on the floor, sitting on the window. There were not enough classrooms. You see, we had to put all the students in the classroom that we had. It was a pathetic situation. 26th of September, the Honorable Commissioner for Education Dr. Paddy Yamu, visited this school. And when he saw the state of the school, he gave the governor's marching order, the executive governor of the state, that construction work will commence in this school. You can, if you go around, the governor gave us 10 classrooms, gave us administrative block, gave us new toilets, fenced the school around, gave us walkway.
The previous appearance of my school before this great change was really disappointing and discouraging to education. There was less classrooms in the school. The classrooms we had were overpopulated and really inconvenient for learning. We had less teachers. Nothing that had to do with lab or libraries. The school was really disappointing back then. Well, now the current change is really encouraging, beautiful, and exciting to learn to both parents, teachers, and students. Can now go to the library to borrow books for reading, especially now that we have our exams coming. I want to say a very big thank you to the governor and other staffs involved in this big change of this school. This thank you may not be enough, but that's all I have to say.
I feel good about the school compound, everything, the good work that is going on, and I pray that may the Almighty God bless and keep his family.
The school community described the renovation as a dream come true, highlighting Governor Powell's commitment to improving education and ensuring safe, effective learning across Edo State. From VOP, I am Rhoda Johnny.
Coordinator Wike Ezenwa said the group aims to promote the administration's achievements at the grassroots, with coordinators now in place across senatorial zones and local governments. Our correspondent, Undi Opalese, reports.
Coordinator Chief Wike Ezenwa directed them to constitute ward coordinators soon after their own inauguration and charged them to engage people on President Tinubu's policies and programs. He underscored the seriousness of the agenda, reminding them that the president personally approved their appointment.
We are gathered to formally inaugurate our zonal and local government coordinators, individuals entrusted with the crucial responsibilities of advancing the policies, achievements, and objectives of Mr. President, alongside our party manifesto. This occasion transcends mere ceremonial importance. It is a call to action, empowering us to engage directly with members of every household in Anambra State.
The coordinators for the ambassadors at the 3 senatorial zones in the state are Senator Iman Osike for Anambra North, Dr. Emekeze for Anambra Central, and Professor Obuaja for Anambra South. Coordinators for the 21 local government areas include Chief Arinze Chukwu for Obaru, Dr. Jude Emecheta for Ekusigo, and Sir Kenneth Arinze for Oka North local government areas. In his reaction, a one-time Speaker of the Anambra State House of Assembly, Mike Ogwa, who is the coordinator for Rumba South, said there is a lot of improvement in the standard of living of Nigerians resulting from President Tinubu's policies, which needed to be well explained to the people at the grassroots. Also, Chief Awogo, coordinating Ogbaru, called the attention of his colleagues to the enormity of the job, pointing out that members of the All Progressives Congress in the state needed to buckle up all the more.
A lot of things are going on. People are not even aware. Like the food stocks now are so cheap all over the country.
Government and make our various zonal coordinators proud. Through them, we will now make the state coordinator proud. Can the fortune of Anambra be brightened with what we are to do with the renewed open?
In his speech, Senator Iman Osike commended the president for reposing that confidence in them and promised the national coordinator of Renewed Hope Ambassadors, Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State, and the Anambra State coordinator, Chief Wike Ezenwa, of their readiness to deliver. Ndu Opalese, VOP TV News.
Thank you very much, Ndo, for that. We now move on to the foreign scene. The European Union has designated Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, as a terrorist organization, a major shift in Europe's stance towards Iran. The move places the IRGC alongside groups like Islamic State and Al-Qaeda. Formed after Iran's 1979 revolution, the IRGC wields significant power, controlling parts of the economy, armed forces, and Iran's missile and nuclear programs. Designation comes in response. The EU also sanctioned 15 individuals and 6 entities linked to the repression and Iran's support for Russia. Some EU states had previously resisted listing the IRGC, citing risk to diplomatic communication and European citizens.
But still on the foreign scene, Tom Homan, former ICE chief under Donald Trump, says federal operations in Minneapolis will be safer, more efficient, and by the book after 2 U.S. citizens, Renee Gould and Alex Pretty, were fatally shot by federal agents. Homan stressed the need for common sense cooperation to limit the number of federal agents in the city. And while Democrats and some Republicans have blocked a government funding bill over immigration enforcement concerns, raising the possibility of a federal shutdown starting Friday, President Trump is holding a cabinet meeting to discuss ways to avoid the shutdown.
And now to business. The United States and Nigeria have signed a commercial and investment partnership to boost trade and investment with focus on agriculture, digital economy, and infrastructure. Speaking in Lagos, U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary Bradley McKinney described the agreement as a major milestone in bilateral economic relations. He noted that within 6 months, working groups had moved the partnership from concept to execution, developing proposals to remove trade bottlenecks. McKinney said,
still business, the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria says cargo operations and revenue performance have improved significantly. In a report released in Lagos, FAN credited reforms by its Cargo Development and Services Directorate for the gains, including relocating operational staff and revenue desks back into cargo warehouses. The changes, along with a better monitoring of unaccompanied luggage, have helped curb major revenue leakages across key terminals.
We now move on to sports. Nigeria football is in mourning following the death of Sarah Chukwueze, mother of Super Eagles forward Samuel Chukwueze. Her passing after a brief illness was confirmed by Samuel's siblings on social media. NFF General Secretary Mohammed Sanusi described her as a supportive pillar in her children's lives, particularly in shaping Samuel's football career. The Federation urged Nigerians to keep the Chukwueze family in their thoughts and prayers.
And may the soul of the departed rest in peace. Still sports news, 9 teams will start the new Chinese Super League season on minus points after sanctions for match fixing, gambling and corruption. Last season's runners-up, Shanghai Shenhua and Tianjin Tigers, received the heaviest penalties, losing 10 points each. 4 other sanctioned clubs have already been relegated to China League One. The 13 punished teams were also fined between £21,000 and £104. Authorities said the sanctions follow an investigation into football-related gambling and match manipulation.
And now to entertainment. Kunle Kuti, son of late Afrobeat legend Fela Kuti, has revealed that his father turned down a multi-million-dollar record deal in the 1990s to protect the integrity of African music. Speaking on a recent podcast, Kunle said Fela refused the offer to avoid Western commercial influence, believing his music should remain a tool for African expression. Revelation comes amid a public rift between Fela's other son, Seun Kuti, and singer Wizkid. The dispute began after Seun criticized comparisons between Wizkid and Fela, saying they diminish his father's unique legacy. Wizkid responded on social media, claiming he is greater than the Afrobeat icon.
Well, still in the world of entertainment, Grammy-winning Nigerian singer Burna Boy has revealed that he and late South African rapper AKA resolved their quarrel before AKA's death. The duo fell out in 2019 after Burna Boy threatened to deal with AKA following reports that the rapper encouraged xenophobic attacks against Nigerians during Afghan banter. Burna Boy shared in a posthumous burst that they had settled their differences, but he regretted that the rapper passed away before they could carry out planned collaborations. The rapper was shot dead outside a restaurant in Durban, South Africa, on the 10th of February 2023. And that's how we wrap it up on News Hour. But before we go, a quick look at the headlines. We told you that the reps have approved 2026 budget for second reading.
Also, Senate yet to conclude bill and set up ad hoc committee.
Shettima hails Tinubu's economic reforms.
Governor Zulum approves direct disbursement of local government fund.
Also, we told you that court has freed Soweto and Dele Frank after protest arrest.
Anambra orders schools to resume Monday.
On the foreign scene, we told you that the EU has designated Iran's Revolutionary Guard as terrorist organization.
And in business, we told you that Nigeria and US have signed commercial partnership.
Well, in sports news, NFF condoles with Super Eagles Chukwueze over mom's death.
And in the world of entertainment, Kunle Kuti reveals why Fela rejected the $1 million deal. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we are Voice of the People Television. And on other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. We witness news happening near you. We want to hear from you. Send your eyewitness reports, event coverage requests, photos or videos directly via WhatsApp to 0814-606-3057. Can also reach our newsroom by email at news@vop.ng. I am Nnenna Ndumdioto.
And I am Vivian Oguche. Thank you for watching.
VOP TV. Now, you have more than a voice.
In a world where power shifts with every headline.
In a nation full of questions.
In a world filled with noise, the truth needs a voice.
The policies that shapes our world and the economy that determines our future.
Every hour, every day, the grapevine keeps buzzing. And together, we are committed to telling the stories that shape our world, because your voice is our focus.
Don't forget, our voice matters the most. Let us come together and share our concerns.
To know the happenings in the maritime sector, join us on the program Maritime Frontiers on VOP TV as we discuss key areas in the maritime sector, from aquaculture, maritime transportation, maritime labor regulation, oil and gas exploration, ferry and passenger insurance, marine pollution and prevention, port operations, and lots more. Maritime Frontiers, exploring Nigeria's blue economy.
Do you want your voice to be heard? Do you know that you matter in the scheme of things? The People's Voice, the show where ordinary citizens take center stage as we discuss the biggest stories that affect you and I. With you in mind, we facilitate lively discussions, debates, and interviews on the topics that matter most to you and I, from social justice to economic empowerment, education to healthcare, governance, and more, tackling tough topics and amplifying your voice. Join the conversation and make your voice count. The People's Voice. Make your voice count.
Are you ready for the extraordinary? Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOP TV. Now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We break in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP TV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television. VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
The red carpets, awards, the razzmatazz, music, fashion, interviews, and more. Spotlight on Voice of the People Television. Let's feed you with all the juicy stories in the global entertainment space, bringing you the glitz and glamour as it is hot. Stay tuned to Spotlight, 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. Spotlight on VOP TV. Entertainment like never before.
Welcome to the Locker Room, the home of football talk that matters. I am Jerry Arpehon. Join us every weekday, Monday to Friday at 5 p.m. Nigerian time, as we share the hot takes and hot debates in the exciting world of football. And joining me are the usual suspects, Ikechukwu and Mayowa, as we break down all the hot takes and everything that's happening in the football. Don't just watch football, live it with us. Catch us on the Locker Room and Voice of the People Television at 5 p.m. Nigerian time. And like I always say, if not 20 minutes off, please discuss.
This is African News on Voice of the People Television, where we don't just bring you the news, we bring you Africa's heartbeats, the policies that shapes our world, and the economy that determines our future. African News on Voice of the People Television. Stay with us.
We encourage you to click on the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are Voice of the People TV. Also follow us on all our social media platforms. We are at VOP TV Live. Visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. Also watch us live on SLTV channel 264. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television.
VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice. VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
Good morning and welcome to VOP this morning. I am Moses Humphrey, and of course, we have a few conversations that we'd like to dive into this morning. We would like you to come along with us. Do follow us across social media. It's